Hi there, this is Kendra Kambraskis, and I am SiX's Sustainable Agriculture Program Consultant. And I've been getting some questions about right to farm laws and what they might mean for you in your own state. So I thought I would take the opportunity to come on here and just talk in general about right to farm laws. And obviously, should you have additional questions or want to talk about something specific, I'm always available to have a conversation with you. Just generally speaking, right to farm laws, despite their farm-friendly name, are, in my opinion, neither good for farmers nor good for our rural communities. Historically, right to farm laws have been promoted and pushed out by the American Legislative Exchange Council. There is some version of right to farm in every state in our country, and by and large, while there's a spectrum of right to farm laws, they ostensibly do two things. The first is that a right to farm law will strive to tie the hands of local governments from being able to regulate agriculture, so through preemption of local control. The second goal of right to farm law is to tie the hands of local residents from being able to take any sort of legal action against an agricultural operation. So this is hugely problematic. It's undemocratic when you take away the right for a local government to be able to regulate or put any safeguards on the kind of agriculture they want in their community, or how those agricultural operations should operate as to protect citizens from any sort of externality of the production. And then, secondly, you have citizens who no longer can access the courts because right to farm laws often take away the ability for a nuisance suit to be brought against an agricultural operation. So, as I mentioned, there's quite a spectrum of right to farm laws, but by and large, these are the two goals that right to farm laws are seeking to achieve. And what I have seen in the past is that new right to farm laws that are being introduced in state legislatures are largely trying to help get states to move further in this direction. So tying the hands of local governments and then preventing neighbors from being able to access courts to get some sort of justice for some egregious harm that they've faced. So right to farm laws, there are, as I mentioned, just like there's a spectrum of the types of right to farm laws that you may see in your state, there's also a spectrum of where you might find those laws show up. Some states, such as Missouri and maybe Oklahoma, have right to farm laws in their state's constitution. So what the proponents of these laws have been successful in doing is basically getting some sort of a constitutional amendment that protects all agricultural practices in their state. And so if legislators attempt to legislate against a particular practice or try to allow their local governments to have some sort of a regulatory authority over how agriculture should operate at the local level, there will often be court challenges saying that the Constitution supersedes anything that the state or the county governments are attempting to do. There are quite a few right to farm laws that show up in state statute. I've also seen right to farm laws. I'm not sure if they're passed through state statute. They must be passed through state statute in order to get here, but I've actually seen right to farm laws show up on, I'm sorry, I have a baby goat sitting next to me who is sick that I'm taking care of, so that's what you're hearing. But back to right to farm laws, I've seen right to farm laws show up on like the deeds of property. So if somebody purchases a property or a home in a particular county, if you look on the deed to that home, you'll see that there is a clause that states, again, that property owner is willingly, knowingly purchasing property in an agricultural area, and therefore they are unable to bring any sort of legal challenge against what is often considered like a generally accepted agricultural practice. So that's sort of a general overview of right to farm, where these laws have come from, where you might find them. And just lastly, I'll say, why is this important? Why should you be paying attention to this? And that's because that not all agriculture is created equal. So, historically, these laws have been promoted as a means to prevent people from moving into an agricultural area and then raise concerns about the smells of agriculture or the dust from the plow. And that's by and large why I believe ALEC has been able to get a lot of traction on these laws. However, as agriculture has evolved and become more industrial in nature, agriculture has been afforded a lot of the traditional protections when many of the modern farms are acting more as industry and have extreme potential to pollute, just like an industry, and probably should be regulated like an industry. And yet these types of provisions that are in statute prevent local governments from being able to do so. So that's a wrap on right to farm laws. And again, should you have any questions or want to speak in more detail about something that you've got going on in your state, I'm always available, and I can be reached at kendra@stateinnovation.org.